lovely to be here. When Sarah asked me to be part of this, I misread the email, and she asked me to lead a workshop as well, and I was like, yeah, that's great. I'd love to do that. And then she came back to me straight away and was like, if you read your email, it actually says, can you do a bit of a keynote as well? So thank you to the wonderful Sarah for inviting me here. For some reason, she thinks I have something worth sharing with you. She's given a lovely introduction. I'm Sharon. I live in Durham. I hope you can understand my Geordie accent. I was recently down in Oxford, and this lovely gentleman came up to me in the church and he said, oh, you remind me of somebody. And I thought, oh, what are you going to say? And he said, Sarah Milliken. And I said, oh, I'm not quite as rude. Another lady another time said to me, oh, you remind me of someone. And I thought, she's going to say Dawn French. I'm a total Dawn French freak. I love her. I wish I could be her. And I said, I was waiting for her, Dawn French, Dawn French. She went, no, it's that lady, you know, off the bake-off, Jo Brand. So I was like, oh, okay. Let's hope this morning we can have a think about the 3 R's that Sarah has given me. She's given me reflect, reason, and rethink. And this first section is to help us reflect. And today, as I was putting this together for today, I really was thinking about actually what does the word reflect mean? It says to give serious thought or consideration to something. It says to admit something and to accept it. You see, reflection isn't always easy, but it allows us to realize how much we have done. It allows us to concentrate on the good things and consider what we might do differently next time. Without reflection, it's really easy to forget the good things and to focus on our failures. Now, I don't know about you, but I always find that I tend to reflect on the bigger things more so than the smaller things. And maybe the things that maybe didn't really go to plan, much more than I reflect on the good things. Let me share with you what I mean. One of my favourite things in life is to meet famous people. I think it all started when I was about 6 years old, and I found out that I was related to the one and only Larry Grayson. Now, hopefully people in the room will know who he was. If you're a bit too young, he had a TV show and he had a saying, and it was "Shut that door." And that was a big hit in my house, which kind of makes sense considering I was related to him. I remember telling my friend at school really excitedly, Uncle Larry was on the telly and we'd all watched it. And the teacher was really impressed, and I thought, wow, this is really great. But of course, 6-year-old Sharon had misheard my dad refer to my Uncle Harry. But I think I really enjoyed thinking that I was related to Larry Grayson, even if it was just for 5 minutes. For my 30th birthday, my best friend from university came over from Dublin and we went to see Sting. Huge fans of Sting. The same day the concert was on, we found out that he was going to do a book signing. So off we went, clutching our new books, ready for him to sign. We waited patiently in the queue for what seemed like hours and hours. And when we approached the desk where he was sitting, I joked to my friend that she should ask him to sign her book from Gordon. After all, that is his given name, and it's what we used to call him as if we knew him, Gordon this, Gordon that. And she was like, okay, let's do it. So up she went next to him. She put her arm around him. I took the most amazing photo. She still has it framed, enlarged in her kitchen. It is beautiful. And he did sign it, "With love from Gordon." Fantastic. I bet it'll be worth a fortune someday. So it came to my turn, and I stood in front of him, and he asked my name, and I just froze. I just stood there, looking blankly at him. He asked me my name again, and I couldn't speak. And Laura, my friend, was going, Sharon, say Sharon, it's Sharon. But I just stood there, and she took a photo as best she can. Here's the photo. That's me holding something red there on the end. So that's my photo of Sting. A few years later, I'd learned. It was my birthday and I went to the Good Food Show with one mission in mind, to meet Gordon Ramsay. And I have to say, he's the most delightfully respectful person. It must all be for show. It's all for the cameras. And sure enough, I'd learned from my past experience. I'd reflected on what had gone wrong with Sting. And I realised that I needed to speak this time. So we queued up and I had my Royal Dalton by Gordon Ramsay mug ready for him to sign. And as it was my turn, I passed over my mug and he signed it and he said, "Oh, you're having a good day." Here it goes. And I said, "Yes, it's my birthday." And he did the most incredible thing. He put his arm around me and he gave me a kiss. Oh, it was heaven. It was glorious. He smells nice as well, really. And my mum, was front and centre to capture this moment on camera. This is me in the pink. This is Gordon in his chef whites. This is the moment I met Gordon. Sadly, it's not on the wall. And then wait for it, the one that Sarah's almost alluded to. I was invited, the big one, to meet the Queen, Queen Elizabeth II. Not only to meet her, but to speak at the service she would be attending. Wow. I planned everything down to the last letter. I had to submit a script and agree to stick to it word for word. I had to select photos better than this that I'd be using for the presentation. And I travelled to London and had a full rehearsal of the service. The BBC were even there recording it for songs of praise. Our first job was to rehearse how we would meet the Queen. Oh, my goodness. The Lord Lieutenant came to advise us. This is what he said. "Ladies must curtsy as soon as the Queen approaches you. Men must bow their head. If you do not address Her Majesty unless she speaks to you first. And then you may answer. When you address her for the first time, you must say Your Majesty. Should you need to speak again, you must address her as ma'am like spam, not ma'am like arm." Right. Okay, curtsy, Your Majesty, ma'am. Curtsy, Majesty, ma'am. So the time came for the Queen to arrive and a huge crowd had gathered outside. And as we stood in the reception area, we could hear the crowd. Now, I don't know why this occurred to me, but I thought they'd all be going, "Bravo, it's the Queen, hooray!" They were screaming as if they were at a Take That concert or equivalent. And I couldn't get my head around it. They were just literally just screaming her name. And she got out of the car and the noise was unbelievable. But there we are. They were clapping and they were shouting and in she came. I looked around. You can put the next one on, Sarah, please. My bishop, my beloved Bishop Paul was there. Floella Benjamin, total childhood hero of mine. Catherine Jenkins, most beautiful woman alive. And Pam Rhodes, who's not in the photo for the Songs of Praise thing, and a few others. And she was introduced to each of us by name by this lovely vicar, Tim. And she spent time with each person, which was really lovely. And her official photographer took photos of each person meeting the Queen. And then this is my photo of the Queen meeting the person next to me. And touching the person next to me because the vicar stood in front of me with his frock like that, and I didn't get an official photo. Just incidentally, there's a lovely boy here, Teddy, aged 8. Absolutely amazing. I'll tell you a little bit about him. So that was me meeting the Queen, but I've got another photograph in a minute just to show you that I did actually get... You can see how small she is. I'm 5'4", and she had a big hat on and heels, so she is really small. Anyway, just before this, I realised the actual Queen was right in front of me, looking me straight in the eyes. And she held out her hand to shake mine. And as I proceeded to curtsy, all I could think of was, do not use the Queen's hand to steady you as you curtsy. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, I managed a quick dip, and then my mind went blank. What do I say? How do I address her? Spam, jam, mom. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And she was looking directly at me. And I'm thinking, I can't address her until she addresses me. I can't say something. And the awkward silence seemed to go on forever and ever and ever. So what did I do? I looked her straight in the eye, and I kid you not, in my most patronizing voice, I just looked at her and went, hello. But you know what? She smiled and she did a little laugh and she moved on. And that was just incredible. Teddy, who I've just said, that little boy, 8 years old, as the Queen got to him, he bowed and he said to her, Your Majesty, it is the honour of my life to meet you. I thought, oh, don't you love kids when they show you up? There's just one more photo, just doing my presentation, just to show you that the Queen was actually there. She did actually see all of my presentation, which it was just phenomenal. But as I reflect on those moments in my life, and I wonder what went wrong, what impression had I, if any, made on the people that I had met? Oh my goodness. Had I prepared enough? Had I planned exactly what would happen? Did I have other people involved? Did I account for all types of eventuality? Could I totally rely on people for the best outcome? And today, as we reflect on the aspects of our ministry with children, should we be asking the same questions? Is what we have been doing the most effective way of doing things? What lasting impression have we left on our children? My introduction to the church happened when I was about 6 years old, when I thought I was related to Larry Grayson, and I went along to Sunday school. Can I ask a question of the room? By a show of hands, would you mind putting up your hand if you went to Sunday school or church as a child? Fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that. It's one of the things I do in every single meeting that I do. I was in a church the other night with 8 people and I asked them there. Whenever I ask that question, wherever it is, it's not usually a room full of children's workers like it is today. It is always the massive, massive, massive majority who went to Sunday school or church as a child. And we're all still here. Now, whether you were dragged kicking and screaming, whether you were taken and left so your mum and dad could have a bit of free time, or whether you went away willingly, leapt out of bed, it is always the massive majority. Let's remember some of those things that we experienced as children ourselves in the past. I wonder if just for a couple of minutes you could share with the people on your table what you remember from that experience, from your own experience of Sunday school or church as a child. Just for a couple of minutes. Okay. If you can finish off your conversations. That's great. Fantastic. Thank you. I wonder if anybody would like to just call out some of the things that you talked about on your table. Good or bad, it's absolutely fine. Anything anybody wants to share? Oh, go on, someone, be brave. Singing? Yep, lots of singing. I remember that, yes. Right. So right. Afternoon, so you could have a lie-in and then go to church. No, you had to get up and then go. Afternoon services, brilliant. Anything else? Yeah. Oh. Wow, morning and afternoon. My goodness, yes. Oh. Oh. So the tiles and the furniture and things like that, that's what you remember. Great. Any more? One more. Yes. Picnics. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Picnics and all types of kind of trips and things away. Yeah, definitely. Remember those very well. Thank you. Many of those aspects that you've shared all have a place in our experience, good or bad, and we're thankful for them. And maybe they are the reason that we are still here in this very room today. When I began my career in children's ministry, I was fortunate to help build up a community that had many children and young people. It was around the year 2000. Oh, I'm getting old, Sarah. Some of us had our first mobile phone, remember the Nokia, which opened up a whole world of communication that we had never known. The text became the in thing. Sending a short message to a friend and waiting for a reply was all-consuming. The Spice Girls, Westlife and Steps were huge. Toy Story 2, Erin Brockovich and Kevin and Perry were on the big screens. And not to make you feel old at all, but the Teletubbies, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, are now 27 years old. Postman Pat is 43. Thomas the Tank Engine is 40. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are no longer teenagers. In fact, they are actually 41. And this is the mind-blowing one. Even Peppa Pig is 20 years old this year. 20! When did that all happen? Did I miss it? It just feels like last week I was in the Early Learning Centre trying to buy the latest Teletubby. And it's a bit like that with our children's ministry. What did it look like 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, last year, last month, last Sunday? What did it look like? Just chat to the people on your table again. I'd like to ask you, what have you engaged with as a leader in your children's ministry? What's gone well and what has maybe not worked out? Just for a couple of minutes, what have you engaged with? What's worked well and what hasn't worked? Okay, if you want to come back into your groups, please, and just finish off what you're talking about, that would be excellent. Thank you. So, would anybody like to just feed back some of the things you've been chatting about on your table, perhaps? Just shout them out. Loved it. Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? I think reflecting on what you're doing and asking, is it still serving your community in the way that it needs to, is really, really important. It's not easy to do. And it might mean those 3 examples there were all alternatives of doing things from what, the normal way we've been doing it. So we've got ministry with the whole family in together. We've got ministry at different times of the week. And we've got a ministry on a Saturday that includes food and games and all sorts of things. And that's absolutely fantastic. I think if you can reflect and ask yourself, is what you're doing still serving the community? That's a really strong thing to do. Has your toddler group lost focus? Have you squeezed out the Bible story in favour of something more modern that the children will be familiar with? How can we make our groups more intentionally Christian? Do we need to look at the models, perhaps, and alter things? Do we look at muddy church, messy church, sweaty church? Oh, we had that. Now Di says it wasn't for me. Minecraft church, bubble church. Is wiggle worship sometimes what we want to have a go at? Should we be using Diddy Disciples or Bible Buds? Whatever your situation, however things are going, we need to remember to celebrate the big stuff as well as the small stuff too. We need to learn from it and use that to your advantage to inform your ministry moving forward. Reflecting and evaluating what you're doing, involving the young people in making decisions. Ask them their opinions. Ask them for suggestions. Encourage children and young people to participate in the whole life of the church, in services, in outreach, in mission. Look to change and evolve what you're doing and the type of ministry that you have. Ask yourselves and the church difficult questions. Ask the PCC about money, about budgets. Ask them about time allocation. Ask them about rooms. Ask them about staffing. Love your volunteers, get to know them, invest in them, pray for them, train them, thank them, and value them. Celebrate with them and cry with them. Journey together alongside each other and alongside the children and young people. Do it all together. Now, I just found this quote last night as I was looking through some Facebook posts, and it's from Dr. Lawson Murray, and he writes extensively on children's ministry, and he says this: if we want children embracing truth and having solid relationships with the Lord, we must take full responsibility for how, where, why, what, and when they learn. And I think reflecting on all of that helps us. We're going to move on now to our second R, the reason. And I want to impress on you today the power of impressions that can be made upon us in the earliest years of our lives. It's so important. Our early experiences really can leave a legacy in our lives that often defines the path we follow and the journey we take. As I said earlier, I started Sunday school as a 6-year-old. It was 1980. Oh my goodness. And me and my sister and her friend found ourselves attending a church plant that had actually been set up in our junior school. Little did I know just what an impact that would have on my whole life. There was lots of singing, as someone's already said. I loved that. And then Sunday school was run by some lovely people. There were trips out to the seaside, parties, picnics, sports day, holiday clubs, and we grew up being part of a loving church family. And it was there that I experienced a constant kindness, one that I still experience today. I was invited to a celebration service to mark 50 years of that church congregation. And now I work for the diocese. They asked me to give a short talk on the importance of children's ministry. The first person I saw as I entered through the door was my lovely Sunday school teacher, Mrs. Crossley. She'll never be anything else to me. And again, I just went straight back. I was that 6-year-old again. I was smiling and hugging her and remembering just how lovely she was to me. I'm not too sure I can remember a lot of what she said or what she taught me, if I'm honest, but I'll never forget how lovely she was, how caring, how kind, and how much I loved her. And the smile on her face as I stood up to give a short talk, it was just phenomenal. A bit like when Sarah said, when you meet the children of your children, not only do you feel old, you just feel so proud, don't you? It's good to be reminded that the earliest chapters of our lives are incredibly important to the whole story to be told. Advances in neuroscience have shown that our earliest experiences create a crucial connection and lay the foundations of our understanding of God. Don't underestimate those childhood experiences. They make a difference. They help us to understand more. They help us to form relationships. They help us lay the foundations of our identity, our security, and our belonging to Christ. Now, I know that today here in this room, there are all sorts of children's groups represented. Different churches with different traditions. Some may be larger churches in parts of a city, some in towns, some in villages, and maybe some in rural areas. Schools and communities also present differences. I realise that in these groups there will be all kinds of children and families represented. Mums, dads, grandparents, blended families, single-parent families, children too, with various needs. They may be neurodivergent, they may have little experience of faith, or they may have had a negative experience of the church. Some may be delightful, some may be more challenging and complex, and then there may be some who are just breaking your heart. I realise that maybe people today here are new to leading children's ministry, and others of you have been involved for so long, maybe I could have been in your group in 1980. Some of you are so experienced that you should be up here instead of me. And some of you are single-handedly running a group, feeling like you're doing it all on your own. Whatever your situation, whether you are thriving or struggling, I'm glad that you're here today. I believe there's a reason for this. I know this. When we place children in the centre of our ministry, be it Sunday school, collective worship, toddler group, prayer group, after school club, or whatever it is, Jesus is in there too. And he's here with us today. But why? Why do we do what we do? Well, I'll be honest with you. I could quote Bible passages to you where it says clearly that children are a gift from God. The Bible says that children are to be cherished and nurtured. There are passages where Jesus puts children in the center of his ministry and tells us to do the same. But maybe you know some of those. And if you don't, there will be many great books on the bookstall out there, as Ben told us, that will tell you some of that. But today I'm going to tell you some of the things that are the reason I do what I do. This next story is about how God spoke clearly into my life and called me to children's ministry. I was still a student teacher at the time, and I had a group of year 2 boys on a table, and they were having a big argument. I went over to sort it out, and I heard some of it. A boy, David we'll call him, was arguing with another boy, Adam. Adam had been complaining that his dad and his friends had been round the night before and had left the place in a mess. There were beer cans, pizza boxes, loads of rubbish, and he said it was disgusting and smelly. And David retorted, he shouted, "Well, at least you have a dad. My dad's dead." He looked straight at me, approaching him, clearly readying himself for a telling off. But in that moment, the teacher in me stood down, and the Christian in my life was front and center. I crouched down and I spoke to David in a quiet voice, and I said, "That's okay, David. So is mine." And the look on his face is something I will never forget. The anger on his face instantly melted, and instead his eyes widened and he started to blurt out so many questions. Was he really dead? Well, how did he die? When did he die? Who walks the dog? Who pays the bills? And so on. So many questions spilling from this little 7-year-old boy that had clearly been bottled up, and he wanted to know the answer to his questions. He wanted to know how I was dealing with the same questions as him. I spent a bit of time with David talking about how I walk the dog now and how my mum had learned to pay the bills. And we chatted about his situation and how he was coping with it all. As I returned to my desk and I sat down, I felt God say so clearly that this is what it was all about, for me anyway. Children's ministry, helping to nurture children in their journey, in their discipleship. And that was my calling. Coming to faith myself as a child meant that I'd experienced that nurture throughout my childhood, teenage years, and into adulthood. As I've already said, I love being with famous people. And a few years ago, I had breakfast with none other than the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby. And we chatted about children's ministry, and he told me that his one regret was that he never knew Jesus when he was a child. But now he and his wife had children. They made sure that they have every opportunity for themselves. Let me tell you one more story about Alex, we'll call him. Alex was dating a younger member of my family, Lizzie, and we happened to meet him for the first time on the day that me and my husband were moving house. They came along to help. We met Alex and chatted for a while before we began to move boxes and the busyness of the day started. And as the day went on, I really kind of hadn't realised that Alex had become very, very quiet. Alex and Lizzie left without saying goodbye, and that night I thought, I'm going to text Lizzie and ask her if everything is okay. She said that Alex was really worried, that he'd recognised me from school and that he was worried. Worried about what, I said? Well, she said, he came to your fog club and he was worried because he was always naughty at school. I said to her, he was never naughty at fog club. And then she told me the story about Alex. You see, Alex at that time, unknown to us, was actually having a very hard time at home with his parents. Alex lived in a very well-to-do family, and the punishment that family had decided upon Alex was to put him outside if he'd been naughty. So whether it was raining, whether it was hot and sunny, whether it was dark, Alex was outside. And so Alex kind of developed this, and at school he was always naughty, always in trouble. And he came to Fog Club, Friends of God, that I ran in the school in the lunchtime. And he said to Lizzie that the one thing he remembered about me was that I was always nice to him, that I never, ever told him off. And I think that the main thing about that story is that that was probably one of the only positive experiences that he had in his school career. We loved him. We didn't tell him off. We showed him that consistent kindness that I said that I had experienced. And Jesus told a story that's probably familiar to us all. Can you pop the next slide on, please? A man was going from Jerusalem to Jericho, and on the road he was attacked by robbers and left for dead. 3 men passed by. 2 of them should have stopped but didn't. But the man who had every reason not to stop made the decision to do so and stopped to help. The Good Samaritan story, as we have come to know it, Jesus told this story and asked which man was the neighbour to the wounded man. We may be familiar with that story and say, well, obviously it was the Good Samaritan. But in this story, there is another character who is often overlooked. But he is there. He is the innkeeper. The story Jesus told is that the Samaritan then took the wounded man to the innkeeper and said, "Look after him, and when I return, I will reimburse you any money you have spent." I want to ask today, what if those children in your groups have been placed there by God himself? Some may have wounds, visible or invisible. Some may be broken, some may be lost. Maybe some don't know who to trust. And consider this. What if God is saying to you today, look after them, and when I return, I will reimburse you. The innkeeper is a wonderful description of all of us who serve in children's ministry. You may feel like an unseen character, but I believe that God has invited you to be there. He wants you to be you and no one else. God has written you into the story of your children's group for a reason. God has written your group into a bigger and far better story than we could ever write on our own. Are you the innkeeper, there to provide a constant kindness and there to do that for every single one he brings to you? Be confident that your consistent kindness is leaving a trace of God's grace in the life of a child, and that is a story worth telling. This is the first book that I received in my Sunday school. It was a gift for attendance, and it's been with me ever since. And I truly believe that that gift has had an amazing effect on my calling. I want to say to each and every one of you here today, thank you. You are seen, you are known, you are loved, you are cherished, you are called, and you are enough. And we're going to move on to the final R, which is rethink. I want to ask you today, are there aspects of our ministry that we need to rethink? To help us in this area, we're going to embrace something you may not have used for quite some time. We're going to use some Lego. You will see on each table there's an envelope. If someone could open it, please, and each of you take a bag of the Lego that's inside. So if everyone has a bag. Now, Lego is absolutely fantastic to explore new ideas. It helps us to build new things, to try new things out, because it uses what's called hand knowledge. Hand knowledge can inspire us and break down barriers and connect us in ways that might surprise us. This is based on a session called LSP, Lego Serious Play. And if you're the kind of person that thinks that's exciting, I can really, really encourage you to read the book and actually do some more of the training. What we're going to do now is based on those principles of Lego Serious Play. So I want you to take a bag of bricks each. Take them out and empty them. You have 6 bricks each. One of the bricks has eyes on it. 1 brick is orange. The rest are yellow. And now I'm going to ask you to build something with those bricks. I'm going to ask you each to build a duck. A duck. You have about 45 seconds. Now, there are no wrong answers here. Whatever you come up with is yours. If you say it's a duck, it's a duck. It's a duck. Has everybody managed? Brilliant. Okay, so Sarah, can we have the next slide? Here's my duck. This is my duck. Have a look at the ducks around you on your table. Look at your neighbour's ducks. See if they are the same as yours. Is it the same as mine? No, absolutely. Your duck probably doesn't look much like your neighbour's duck or any of the ducks around you. And there is a reason for this. There's a reason why each of our ducks are different, and that's to do with detail. Firstly, I didn't show you a picture of what a duck should look like, because there are no right or wrong answers. All ducks are welcome. Also, our minds work abstractly, so your brain's probably scrambling around to remember the details of a duck. Are their wings? Do they fly? Is it a beak? Is it a bill? If I had shown you this picture of my duck before you started, you might have looked at that and made it exactly the same because you weren't too sure about your own duck. But we all have completely different experience of building our duck, and they all look different. Your duck is your own unique creation. Own your duck. Take care of your duck. Cherish your duck. Take a selfie of your duck and post it onto the Facebook page, as Heather said this morning. Or even just hold your duck next to you for the rest of this session. The second reason that your duck is unique has to do with this. If you have 6 different Lego bricks, there are almost 1 billion different combinations. Now, that's just mind-blowing. In fact, first of all, I didn't believe that, and then I thought, how am I going to test the theory? I can't. But the idea is there are so many different ways, because everybody interprets information differently. And that is the key to why we're playing with the Lego. Everybody started at the same point with the same 6 bricks. And I know because I put them all in bags on Thursday afternoon. Everybody was asked to build the same thing. Everyone has something valuable to contribute. So I want you to hold on to your duck for later. Playing with Lego taps into our hand knowledge and unlocks our mind beyond our everyday thinking. Lego serious play taps in our ability to imagine. When we express thoughts and ideas and build something with our hands, they are expressed in greater detail. They are easily remembered and more easily understood by ourselves and by others. It's the universal language of Lego. Everyone gets it, whether you're 4 or 104. So now I would like you to take your duck and make changes to it. I would like you to help your duck express how it feels about your children's ministry at this time. You have 1 minute to change your duck. Okay, I'd like you to hold your ducks up. Does how your duck look now reflect their feelings about church, about your children's ministry right now? The way our duck looks and feels tells us a lot about our individual context, and this can help us identify some of the issues we need to rethink. You've just participated in Lego serious play, albeit very, very quickly. When we think through our fingers, we release creative energy, and that empowers our imagination. Remember, we all started with the same 6 Lego bricks. We each built a duck, then we modified it to show our feelings about our children's ministry. You transformed a small bag of Lego bricks into not 1, but 2 unique creations. And I wonder, what is it that we want to build in our children's ministry? What is it that we want to dream dreams about? just after this session, we're going to have some coffee, and I just want to challenge you to make some notes on your note paper, perhaps a list. Are there some things that you need to rethink in your children's ministry in order to move forward? I can certainly suggest using Lego. I've done this with PCC meetings, with clergy, with ordinands, and we get all the Lego out and we build what it looks like now in our church, and we build what we want it to look like. And you can also do this with children. Are the hearts and minds of the people in our congregations the things we need to rethink? Is it the services? Is it the attitudes towards children? Is it our theology of children? Do we need to rethink our programs? Is it our team of volunteers, if we have one? Do we need to rethink how we recruit volunteers? The list may be endless, but please do take your duck home with you and keep it as a reminder of the potential you have. If only we would reflect and then reason and rethink. Thank you.